Welcome to the San Diego Fertility Center IVF lab. Okay, so we use workstations with heated stations, microscopes, and monitors. So we don't have an electronic ID system, so we use each other. We have 3 full micromanipulation setups with lasers. We use benchtop Labotech incubators. And here's the size of our lab with all the workstations, incubators, and some cryo storage tanks. The ones that are under the counter here are working ones, so they're not full. And then these are the latest to be filled. We also have a planar incubator that we use for FETs, our sperm pepper area, some more workstations for tubing, freezing and thawing, and a dish prep area. One last spot. I know I'm just over a minute, but then we have more cryo storage here. But we have the majority of our tanks next door. But we can't wait to start using this puppy soon. All right, can you hear me okay? Yeah, thanks, Nabil, for inviting me into this with this esteemed panel of people. It's greatly appreciated. I'm humbled by the invitation. So I get to cover IVF by ICSI, and I wasn't sure how to handle this one because you can go to the next slide. There is my disclosure. So it's kind of tough. I'm a little bit biased. So I'm going to show some slides that kind of cover, you know, not really pros and cons of both, but different papers that have come out on either side of the fence. So that's our wonderful puppy in the far left corner. So you can say hi to Barkley. So you got to figure out, again, what's best for your practice, what's best for the embryology team as far as fertilization rates, what's best for your clinic, pregnancy rates, because that's what the docs want and the public wants. So again, the patients want a healthy baby, but are the techniques we use, are they safe? So next slide. Diagnosis, these are the kind of the main ones that would probably kind of determine whether you're going to use IVF or ICSI, and whether you use ICSI for non-male factor patients or not. Those are things that you must consider. Next slide. Here's our experience, and that's why we're 100% ICSI. So ICSI just works better in our lab. So it would be like Ben Franklin, Thomas Edison, you know, Ben with his kite and his key, Thomas Edison with the light bulb. I mean, here are great inventions. So great minds make great inventions, right? Well, great minds make great mistakes also. So thanks to Dr. Palamo for making a mistake and introducing ICSI to the IVF field. Next slide. This is just 2 different papers or tables. The top one shows that there is a difference between IVF insemination versus ICSI as far as blastocyst development, but not necessarily fertilization and live birth rates. The bottom one does show a significant difference in fertilization rates in a unexplained infertility group, but no difference in a subfertility borderline sperm group. Next slide. Again, 2 different papers. This first one is pre-ICSI, so 16% of total fertilization failure were observed with IVF, and that doubled in moderate to severe defective sperm, right? And then after ICSI, failed fertilization actually went down in regular IVF. That's because more people started using ICSI for male factor patients. However, you can still get no FERT with ICSI, and I've had it before. So it's not fun, but I'd rather use ICSI over IVF because there's less chance of that occurring. Next slide, please. Again, 2 different papers. just associating kind of the safety of ICSI itself, which everyone, at least early on, had questions about. I don't think those questions are really around anymore, especially with patients. All of them accept that we're doing ICSI. It's very rare for us to do IVF. So it just shows that, hey, there is some difference there, but there is no difference between ICSI and IVF. And the bottom one shows where those abnormalities are coming from. So that's what we're probably doing, is we're passing on the subfertile population. So it's not necessarily the technique, it's the genetics behind the individuals that we're working with. Next slide. So my last slide here is kind of two things that you need to consider, and it's kind of contradictory of us using 100% ICSI, but Kim Pomeroy and Klaus Weimer had a great discussion on one of the webinars on should we be breaching the zona during COVID. Klaus did a lot of work in the cattle model with different viruses and bacteria penetrating an open zona and getting and affecting embryo development. So, but again, we don't know too much about COVID. Should we, and it's been brought up before, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but should we be keeping cryopreservation separate and those types of things? But we do not do it for the regular flu or anything along those lines. And that last statement there, that just came out. So the egg does not always agree with the women's choice of partner. The researchers found out that the eggs did not always attract more sperm from their partner compared to sperm from another male. So with ICSI, are we forcing fertilization on eggs that don't want to be fertilized with that sperm? So just something to think about. And hopefully I stayed within my time restraints. And I'm looking forward to questions at the end.